Arsenal signed off their Premier League campaign with a 2-1 win over Southampton. We're going to break down that game, review all the major talking points, but also in the second half of this podcast, I'm going to rank Arsenal's season and see, was it really as bad as people thought it was? Let's get started. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage with me, your host Mark. This is it. This is the final match review podcast of the 2024-2025 season. We beat Southampton 2-1 yesterday. Not a special game in any way, shape or form, let's be honest. But we did have some nice moments for Kieran Tierney and Martin Odegaard. We will go through all of that during this episode. And like you heard at the start, I'm going to rank the season at the end of it and just kind of talk a little bit more around it. I think it's a really interesting one to analyse, isn't it? Because there's so much that's happened, so many things that have gone wrong, some things that have gone right. And I just want to talk through the season a little bit more before we start looking ahead to the summer and to next season. So I'm going to do a little bit of that here today. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are well. And like I said a couple of episodes ago, if you are in the UK, I hope you are enjoying your bank holiday. That's today at the time of recording. So yeah, let's see. I mean, quickly, just before I start on Arsenal, to be an Aston Villa fan this morning. What a terrible decision that was. A terrible decision. And, to look at the league table and see that you have 66 points, and scroll all the way down to Tottenham with 38 in any other season, not in any other season, but in a number of other seasons, would be getting relegated. And Tottenham are in the Champions League and you're not, because of a horrible decision and your goalkeeper being a ginormous numpty. I'd say a stronger word, but this is technically a clean podcast on the podcast apps. Yeah. Must be a brutal feeling. We do not have any of that stress, and we did not have any of that stress away at Southampton yesterday. It was a relaxed game, and it was a relaxed team selection from Mikel Arteta. Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, lots of players actually. Trossard, all benched. And yeah, I mean, we had injuries. We lost Saliba. We still don't have that. Urian Timber or Gabriel. Miles Lewis-Skelly was also on the bench. So the team ended up being quite different. Now, when it was announced, I thought it was going to be a different setup to it was. So I made a quick note down of how we were lining up. We had Raya in goal, Ben White right back, Jakub Kiwior, Kieran Tierney and Zinchenko in the back four. So Jakub Kiwior was at right centre-back, Tierney at left centre-back, Partey, Rice, Nwaneri in midfield, Sterling, Marino, Martinelli up front. I thought it was going to be quite different. I thought we'd see Thomas Partey at right back, a centre-back combination of Ben White and Jakub Kiwior, Kieran Tierney left back, and then a little shuffle around Declan Rice in the six, because Thomas Partey was right back, Zinchenko and Marino in midfield, so Zinchenko playing the Odegaard role, with Ethan Nwaneri off the right, Sterling off the left, and Martinelli through the middle. That's how I thought we were going to line up, but it was clearly slightly different than that, and Kieran Tierney playing centre-back was very interesting, I thought. Mikel Arteta is not someone who is known for being super sentimental, right? He doesn't... He tends to just pick the strongest team that he has available to him, but I tend to think there was probably a little bit of sentimentality in this selection. Kieran Tierney, Zinchenko and Raheem Sterling all playing their last games most likely for the club. Tierney and Sterling certainly, Zinchenko probably. Sterling will get it out of the way. Another terrible game for Raheem Sterling. I'm so glad to see the back of him. There are very few players that I think of and think, geez, you were just nowhere ever near it. Like, there's been signings that haven't worked out at Arsenal for one reason or the other. But there's only a handful that I think, wow, like, you were never near it and never near the quality. Raheem Sterling might be the worst of the bunch. That loan has been an unmitigated disaster. My only solace from the loan is that Raheem Sterling will be Chelsea's 300k a week problem from now on. So that's a nice thing to have. Of course, in the game, there wasn't much to talk about, I must admit. I was writing notes and really struggling to think of talking points. I mean, both teams wanted to keep the ball. That was evident, and they traded blows in that sense during the first half. But we really didn't have anything. Well, we had a few things. We had the Southampton penalty appeal for the Declan Rice handball, which I don't think, looking at it, is handball. I think it hits the chest, then the hand. Very little he can do for that. At the start, we had a number of shots. We had Mikel Merino heading against the bar. We had a Gabriel Martinelli shot as well. In the first 25 minutes, there were moments, but very, very little. It actually all came to a head towards the end of the half, as Kieran Tierney put the ball over the top and gave Gabriel Martinelli a fantastic chance. It was a wonderful run, and the ball over the top was just bouncing in front of him, unfortunately. He couldn't get it down, and he hits it basically straight at Ramsdale. It's a good save from Ramsdale, who got a wonderful reception from the Arsenal fans, which is always good to see. I really like Aaron Ramsdale, one of those players that I didn't want to see go. Look, David Raya was clearly the better option. I can understand that now, and I really, really like David Raya and rate him. But Aaron Ramsdale is someone I did not want to see replaced at Arsenal. So that was a shame, obviously. But he made a big save in that Martinelli chance. It was a really clever ball from Tierney. Spotted the run and just lifted it over. From there, we put the corner in, and Zinchenko hit one from the edge of the box. That was deflected just wide. Declan Rice then nearly scored from the next corner that we got. He whipped it into the back post. I think Ramsdale had to get a really good fist on it. And then we had the goal on the 43rd minute. Now, Ben White's overlapping runs are a real feature in this game. When he got round Sterling, when he got round Saka, that boy can move, can't he? And I thought, I think I said it the other week. It's so nice to see Ben White looking like an athlete again, not looking like someone who's just come off the injury table, as he has done for a long, long period now. He's been in and out of injury problems. And yesterday, he looked more like that player, that marauding right back. It's incredible that his first season at Arsenal was in centre back with Gabriel, wasn't it? And now we watch him at right back, and I think, whoa, he's one of our best attacking options. He's very Calafiori, and I think we've got four superb fullbacks in Calafiori and Ben White are more attacking options, and Timber and Miles Lewis-Skelly are more conservative options. I love that bit of the squad building. You can criticise Arsenal all you want for squad building, and I'm sure we will dive into that over the summer, but they've got it right in those positions. I really do think we've got fantastic balance. But yeah, Ben White, a brilliant overlapping run, crosses it first time, and KT gets in front of his man and wraps his right foot round it. It's a wonderful finish. It's a kind of number 9-esque finish. I saw a post that was like, maybe Kieran Tierney was the number 9 we needed all along. I don't think I would go that far, but what a fantastic finish from him. Fullback to fullback in some senses. Ben White supplying Kieran Tierney. But for me, it's just fantastic for him to get that moment. And it was pretty close to the Arsenal fans in the away section. For him to get that moment, the players hoisted him up kind of half-heartedly onto their shoulders a little bit, and you could see they were all absolutely delighted for Kieran Tierney, because they know he's going back to Celtic, and Kieran Tierney is one of the hardest working players at Arsenal, and he was the start of the culture shift, in my opinion. We had a lot of players for a long time where we were going, you got no steel, no bite, no work rate. It was a tough time watching Arsenal as we kind of were 5th and then 8th and 8th again. Tierney was not like that. He kept working, and we all remember that performance against West Brom. We all remember his marauding runs from left back and some of the crosses that he was able to put in. I mean, even yesterday, some of the crosses that he put in when he was at sort of that left centre back position, coming up and joining the attacks. He put in some crosses, and I thought, yeah, you are one of the best deliverers of a ball in this squad. Absolutely. I mean, he puts some of our wingers to shame, to be fair. they really need to have a look at some of those crosses and see how he does that. Only really Bukayo Saka can live with him on that sense from the wide areas. So, yeah, he represents so much of Arsenal, about that kind of turning around of the ship in the last, I'm going to say, 6 years when he came in. He is the first player that I think we reconnected with and went, oh, okay, you've got a bit of bite about you. And he started that process. And look, it's not worked out for him under Mikel Arteta. He's been out to Real Sociedad on loan. They gave him a chance at trying to play that inverted left-back position. He couldn't do it. Zinchenko ousted him from the position. And since then, minutes have been so hard to come by. But he's been such a good professional this year, coming on at left wing, coming on at left back for tiny bits of games. And Mikel Arteta clearly trusts him. That is a compliment in itself, because there's been so many players that we thought he should use more and he just didn't, and didn't trust them. He trusts Kieran Tierney, and just so happy he got his goal. So fantastic news there. And I thought at that point, okay, decent. I mean, that Sulemana for Southampton was causing us issues. He is quick, isn't he? Jesus. There was one point that Gabriel Martinelli got away down the left-hand side, and I thought, oh, this is a great chance now, because Gabriel Martinelli, I don't think he's as quick as he was when he was 19. He certainly doesn't look as quick since the hamstring injury, but he's pretty rapid, and I thought he would just stride away from the Southampton defence. Not a chance. That Sulemana guy pulled him in. What a player! What a runner, athlete he is, and he caused us issues down our right, his left all day. Ben White, had to deal with him, and he obviously got injured, and I think that stifled Southampton a little bit when he got injured and came off. He very, very nearly scored before half-time, got through, had the first shot blocked, and then volleyed the second one wide. The second half, however, didn't start so well. I mean, I felt like Southampton were on top. They were keeping the ball quite well, and when they got a corner, we did our classic job of conceding from a corner. And this is something that I've been quick to defend Arsenal this year. I think there's been times where we've been criticised and it's not made any sense. I remember when we drew at Man City and we got criticised for not winning the game, and it was like we've been playing at the time one of the best teams in the country with 10 men for 45 minutes. What are you lot on about? It doesn't make any sense. And then we've been criticised for getting too many red cards when at least half of them are not our fault. We've been criticised for not having a striker, even though we've got two of them on, 500k a week probably over the two contracts. So, we've had some weird criticism. One piece of criticism I think we absolutely have to take and have to address this summer is the defensive set pieces. It's not been good enough. I think that's 12 goals from defensive set pieces now. Put in context, we've only conceded 19 from open play, I believe it is, the stat I saw at least. I need to verify that. So to concede 12 from set pieces when we're known as such a good set piece team, it's not good. And look, we don't have Gabriel, we don't have Saliba in this game. You could even argue we don't have Jurrien Timber and Kai Havertz at this point in the game as well. So look, there's players missing who would be very useful. But Jakub Kiwior's not exactly short. Ben White is not exactly short. Rice, not short. Marino, not short. Partey, not short. We have to do better. To be fair, for Southampton's quality, I thought that was an impressive header from, who was it again? Stewart. Stewart scored it. I did think it was an impressive header. Look, he's managed to flick that away from him, away from the direction he's travelling. It loops over David Raya. We have players there. I think they probably could do more, but it's not like we're not challenging for it. It is a very good finish, but I think what we really need to look at that over the summer. 12 is far too many goals to be conceding from set pieces when you consider the capability that we have from attacking set pieces. Yes, they're very different skills, absolutely, and I'm sure Tacticos would be cringing hearing me say that they're equating them to being similar, but there are underlying characteristics, height, physical ability, jump, all of that sort of stuff, organisation that span both of them, even though they are different skills. And I think this was another example of where I don't think Southampton had a shot on target at that point. I'm not 100% certain. I don't have the breakdown of stats. But yeah, I don't think they'd had a shot on target at that point. And it was a really, really poor moment from us. And it's something that just lets teams into games, right? It just gives them an opportunity to get up for it, to get excited. And we conceded one against Palace. Just thinking back over the recent weeks. And it's just little things like that that, at the end of the day, the difference between us and Liverpool was 5 games this season in the end. 5 games. Now, I know they've kind of been on the beach for a little while, but we lost the same amount of games and they won 24 and we won 19. That was it. It's 5 draws. And those little margins about defensive set pieces are going to make the difference next season, especially if they get Verts. You know, we are going to not be able to concede things like that. Of course, at that point, it was time to throw the cavalry on. We did have a chance just before that and just after the Southampton goal, a really nice pass from Ethan Nwaneri through 2 players where Ben White, again, overlapping run, crosses the ball. There's a faint touch from Martinelli, but it's cleared off the line. And then the big boys come out. Saka and Trossard came on. KT and Sterling came off. Nice little reception for KT as he came off. And just looking at this, Havertz came on at 69 minutes with Miles Lewis-Skelly, and Odegaard came on at 75th minute. And from that point forward, we started to really dominate the game. And I think our quality started to show. It was simple, really. Have your best players on the pitch, have all your talent out there, and you're going to look like a much, much better team. We look far more coordinated, far more together. Which I think was a big thing in the first half. We did have a goal disallowed. Saka's header, he was clearly offside. Rice kind of drove the play through on the left-hand side of the penalty area, and the shot got away, was deflected into Bukayo Saka's path. He headed it in, but once that shot was away, Saka was already offside. He sort of over-anticipated the rebound. And it was just at that point, it was just Arsenal really trying to force the issue. And then we found our moment of quality, and we found it through our captain, Martin Odegaard. And I must say, I'm so pleased for him. One of the things that I really wanted out of the end of this, the last few games of this season, a little run, was just players to have some moments. Kieran Tierney got his moment. I really wanted Ethan Nwaneri to get to 10 goals. I thought that would have been a wonderful achievement for him. That didn't quite happen. And I said, I want Martin Odegaard to have a big moment. Now, when I said that, I said I would love for it to be against Liverpool or Newcastle. He got an assist against Newcastle, not bad. He was involved in one of the goals against Liverpool with his shot that Alisson tipped onto the post. And we've seen signs of life from Martin Odegaard over the last few weeks in those kind of couple of moments that he's had. The shot against PSG as well was a real driving rasper, and it was. I've said it a couple of times, he's looked so flat for weeks and weeks and weeks from an energy point of view. Months, actually. Since he came back from the injury, he's looked flat. And last few weeks, there's just been that power returning to his shot. The kind of ability to strike through the ball has come back. And this moment was classic Martin Odegaard. And more signs of life from that point of view. He exchanges passes with Leandro Trossard, beats Will Smallbone, and just drives it. And I've seen that goal a number of times from Martin Odegaard, the rasping one with the left foot across the goalkeeper. It's a really good finish, and I'm so happy for him. I really am. He is a player that he will. I'm really confident he will come back next season and do wonderful, wonderful things. Let's just take a moment, right? The last 2 seasons, Martin Odegaard has got 22 goals and assists and has been quite frankly brilliant. I think he's one player of the season in both of those years. He has 17 this year. So, look, I'm not going to sit here and say Martin Odegaard's had a good season. I think a number of them have been not stat padding, but not in the biggest of big games, not at crucial moments when we really needed him to unpick a defence like he did in the past 2 seasons. I know he got a couple in that 7-1 versus PSV, so that inflates it a little bit. So look, it's not the same as the previous 22 goals, but there's still been a level of contribution there in, nearly 600, no, just over 600 less minutes than he did last season. I have to say, I think if that's your floor, because I don't think Martin Odegaard will play worse than he's played this season with everything that's gone on for him and everything that's gone on around him. If that's your floor from midfield, I'm really not. I am excited. I'm excited for him to come back and reach another level, because I think this season will have taught him a lot. I do. He's still, he's not exactly old. He's 26. He's just coming into his prime in central midfield. I think he's got a real opportunity. If he gets fit over the summer and gets healthy, I think he's got a real opportunity to explode next season. And don't be surprised if Martin Odegaard goes above 25 goals and assists next season. I'm going to say it here now. I'm going to put some chest on it. 25 or more goals and assists for Martin Odegaard next season from midfield. I'd be really excited to see that. So we win out 2-1. Frankly, not a great game, but I always enjoy watching Arsenal. I always think, no matter who we're playing or what's going on or the context, I enjoy watching the team. There was obviously a lot going on in the rest of the Premier League. Like I mentioned before, Aston Villa fans will be feeling furious this morning. Chelsea getting so much credit in the media for spending £1 billion and finishing fourth. I don't understand that in any way, shape or form. Newcastle jumping around on the pitch, having just been beaten by Everton, and coming fifth, again, having spent the money that they've spent. Every team spends money now, so it's not really a criticism, but imagine if that was Manchester City or Arsenal. It's incredible. The papers would write themselves. Okay, I'm going to take a short break, and when I come back, I'm just going to discuss the season in a little bit more detail. Back in a moment. Sorry for interrupting everyone, but I am on a mission and I need your help. I'm trying to get Arsenal Unfiltered into the ears of as many people as possible, and the best way that you can help me do that is by going and leaving a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts at. That really, really helps me grow the podcast and allows more people to hear the Arsenal Unfiltered coverage 3 times a week. So if you would be so kind to go and leave a review wherever you get your podcast from, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hello and welcome back to part 2 of this final match review podcast here at Arsenal Unfiltered for the 2024-25 season. We have just reviewed the 2-1 victory over Southampton. Pardon me, don't know what happened to my voice there. It's still early here in the UK, 7:05 as I record right now. We've spoken about the Southampton game. We've broken that down. Nice moments for Kieran Tierney and Martin Odegaard. But now I just want to talk about our season and give it a ranking. You are going to hear over the next few weeks some ranking podcasts from me. I ranked all the players. There's some pre-recorded episodes, so you'll hear those. I'm going to do a Mikel Arteta special episode as well. And I'll do some player awards for the season. But right now I just want to give a ranking for Arsenal's season, because I've seen this start to get out there, people looking at it, and I've seen a lot of people give this a below average rating, and I just don't agree. I don't. So I've seen, on a 1 to 10 scale, I've seen 3s and 4s. I've seen people calling it a complete failure, and if Manchester City drop away, you absolutely have to be the team that wins it. So let's address that narrative first of all. If Manchester City drop away, Arsenal must be the team that wins it. Well, we'll certainly be one of the teams, and I think we've proved that this year, in the sense that we're second. So yes, Liverpool are 10 points clear of us. Did we really give them a title challenge? No, but no one else did. Newcastle with all their money, Chelsea with all their money. I mean, Manchester United and Tottenham are miserable as well. Like the other big 6 clubs are giving us a lot of stick, but they're nowhere to be seen. We're 10 points behind Liverpool. Chelsea are 15 points behind Liverpool. So, don't take any stick from their fans. So let's address this narrative. Manchester City drop away. It must be Arsenal who go and win it. I don't subscribe to that. Last season, Liverpool, about 31 games, were at the front of the pack. They were winning the Premier League at that point. And I remember it came down to a crunch game against Liverpool that Arsenal had to win, and we did win that. 3-1. We pulled them in. People are acting like they came from nowhere, but this is a team with Premier League winners, Champions League winners in it. This is a team with Mo Salah, who has a pretty strong argument to be in a Premier League all-time 11, as does Virgil van Dijk. So, they've got two players there who you could make a really good argument are the best ever in their positions at right wing and centre back to have graced the Premier League. And like I say, we had to go there last year. Not go there. We had to play them last year and beat them to pull them in, and we did that job, and we did a really good job of it. And obviously we didn't win it, but we took it all the way to the end. 89 points, 15 more points than we got this season. A wonderful run towards the end or the early parts of 2024. And so I just don't buy this narrative that Arsenal were the only team that could have won it, because Liverpool were in it up until last year, up until we put them out of it. So let's get rid of that narrative. We've also only lost 4 games in the Premier League, which I know is incredible because it's felt like a season of just sucker punch after sucker punch. So to have that level of resilience and keep going, I mentioned this on a previous podcast. A lot of people are looking at the 14 draws and going, God, that's awful. But actually, let's think about it. If we didn't find Mikel Merino and we didn't have that tactical solution that Mikel Arteta delivered on, by the way, let's give him credit for that. Those 14 draws could have been much, much worse. If we didn't find the Kai Havertz, Leandro Trossard solution, again, that Mikel Arteta delivered earlier in the year when Martin Odegaard was out, those could have been a lot worse. A lot worse. If we didn't have the steel and the culture that is set at Arsenal Football Club when we were going through that period where red cards were going against us, penalties were going against us. I mean, the Saliba one versus Brighton, the Miles Lewis-Skelly one against Wolves, then earlier in the season as well, Trossard against City. If we didn't have the resolve and the ability to dig deep, we don't have all those draws. The Manchester City game is a fantastic example of that. So, look, if you are glass half empty, you can look at those draws and go, we don't have a striker. If you're a bit more glass half full, you can look at it and say, well, with all the context that we had, we found a load of solutions throughout the whole year and found a load of different ways of doing things to enable us to not lose more games than we did. I mean, this could be a very different season. This could be a very, very different season. And I've said this a couple of times on the podcast. If you'd given me all the context at the start of the season, I'm not going, oh, well, we're in the title race still. I'm going, bloody hell, I hope we get 4th. I hope we're still in the Champions League next season. If you told me Saka, Odegaard, White, Timber is out for a bit, Gabriel out, Havertz, Martinelli out for a month, Jesus, ACL, the red cards, all of this stuff that happened. All of that stuff. Some of even the scheduling stuff has been weird for us. If all of that context was delivered to me at the start of the season, I'd say, I hope we get 4th. I really do think I'd say that. And it's almost like a strange way that, in the sense that we just managed to keep hanging on to the tiniest little bit of hope, that has made the season feel a lot worse than it actually is. We kept matching Liverpool's results. We got behind them, and then there was that period where Liverpool would drop points and Arsenal would drop points. And Liverpool would drop points and Arsenal would drop points. We never really took advantage of their slips. They've drawn 9 games this year. They're some of the moments where we could have gone on and caught up with them, but we just never quite did it. But we didn't fall far enough away for anyone to be like, okay, this is genuinely like a problem. Like that I think is something that is being under-indexed, is that actually we kept our pace with them just ever so slightly, and that's made it feel worse when we have dropped points, because there have been opportunities there. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say this is the season that I wanted. I'm not. But we got second. No one else came past us. Not City, not Chelsea, not Newcastle. For all the credit that those teams are getting this year, they didn't get past us. And look, City have had their own issues, but Newcastle and Chelsea, and maybe even Villa, will be looking at that and thinking maybe we could have done more. They couldn't jump past us. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't rank this as such a low moment for Arteta's Arsenal as some other people are. I actually think, given if I was to give it a ranking as a season overall, A to F, with C being bang average, I would give it a C. And I just think that is it. It's okay. I'm going to take transfers and the board and stuff out of it, and I'm going to rank it as, what did Mikel Arteta do with the players that he had over this season? Okay, that's how I'm ranking this season. Not whether we got a striker in January, not anything that the board did, not the summer transfer window. I'm going to take all of those factors out of it, and I'm going to say it's a C, because I think he did well. He did an average job. He managed to keep them going. He kept us moving forward, kept us getting results. I think there have been times where I've disagreed with what Mikel Arteta's done. I wanted to see Ethan Nwaneri a little bit more in the run-in. I think we did overplay Kai Havertz a little bit in December and January, and maybe we could have just done something to get him off the pitch. There were moments that were like, he is exhausted, he just needs to come off. Did he need to be training quite as hard as he was in Dubai? Little things like that, I think, as well. So I've had some criticism. Well, I've said it already in this pod. I've had some criticism about how we defend set pieces. Maybe our risk tolerance at times has not been right as well. We've not been happy to move the ball at quite the pace that we would maybe 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago. So look, there's little tactical things that I'm not happy about, and I think we can do a better job on. But given the fact that Mikel Arteta has been doing this without his best players, without Bukayo Saka, without Martin Odegaard, I think he's done a really good job. So I think taking all the transfer stuff out of it, I'd say on one hand there's a lot of little details that I think we could have done better, but generally he's done okay. And I think back to moments like the Leicester 2-0 game where he brought Mikel Merino on. Merino scores 2. It's a fantastic little solution. I think about the first game that we saw Havertz and Trossard play up front in that kind of 4-2-4 together, and I thought, whoa, those guys can move. Like, it looked like it worked really, really well, and there were some really good tactical moments that we did. And of course, despite all of this, we still haven't lost to another Big Six team in the Premier League. I think that, look, people are going to laugh at it. People are going to laugh at it because we've lost to like Bournemouth and we've lost to Newcastle and stuff like that. So they're going to say, well, what does it matter if you're losing to those teams? So I get that. It's a very, very good point. However, I think to have the scenario that we've had and not lose to Manchester City or Chelsea especially, not lose to Liverpool, 2-2 draws with Liverpool, you could argue that we probably deserved to win the first one, and it was a very fair result at Anfield. We could have won it, though. There was a chance. I think that really speaks volumes about some of the ability that Mikel Arteta has to extract the maximum from the players that he's got. And I'd say this just before I end. Just knocked my mic. Yes, I've given it a C. I think it's an average season considering everything that happened. I think it's good that we got second, but definitely we could have done little bit more in certain periods to keep our pace with Liverpool. But then equally, we did some fantastic stuff considering the cards we got dealt. I want to leave with this. Mikel Arteta, I genuinely think, is one of the very few coaches in world football that can complete the season that we've just had. You can criticise Mikel Arteta, maybe his contribution to signings, okay, and maybe substitutions, sometimes he winds me up. There's little bits, a lot of people, I don't agree with it, but a lot of people have criticised his press conferences in recent weeks. Fair enough, you're allowed your opinion. One thing I don't think you can criticise is the way he gets the most out of his players. He really does, and I think this is a perfect example of a season where the manager has been really, really influential in keeping us going, keeping us afloat. I promise you, if this is Unai Emery, he's gone, right? Because this does not end well for an Unai Emery team. This does not end well even for an Arsene Wenger team in the later years. This is a spiralling moment, and it could have been a real disaster of a season. And I think, what if we didn't find Mikel Merino? We spiral off and disappear. What if we don't have the Champions League run to really keep us going and keep us moving? What if we don't have a manager who can get us up for moments like the Manchester City game where we won it 5-1 and gave them the the drubbing I think that they deserved after the 2-2 game earlier in the season. What if we don't have a manager like that? There's been moments throughout this season where I've just thought, wow, we are lucky to have Mikel Arteta, and for all the criticism that you can give him, maybe he's not the best manager in the world. He's not a Carlo Ancelotti, right? What a manager Carlo Ancelotti is. I think he is one of the best coaches in the world. And I think he is one of the best tacticians in the world. And we are very, very lucky to have that. Maybe he's not the best manager. I will happily have a discussion about that. But he is right up there from a tactical point of view and a coaching point of view and even maybe a man management point of view, to get the most out of his players, to deliver results when it matters. And actually, to come second with the context is not bad. So C for Arsenal season. I am glad to see the back of it, though. It's been a long, tiring slog. It has been a difficult watch at times as we've struggled without our key players. One thing about football that is so great is being able to invest in someone, a player or a set of players who are, they just get you off your seat every week. And all of our get you off your seat players have been sat on the bench, sat in the stands, or just coming back from injury all the time. And I'm really excited for those guys to be fit next season. On a personal note, I just want to say a massive thank you. We started this podcast in October. We've had loads of people listen and download the podcast. We've had so many countries. It's quite incredible how many countries have tuned in to support Arsenal Unfiltered and listen to Arsenal Unfiltered. Massive thank you to all of you all across the world for listening. And it's been a really, really fun way to discuss Arsenal, and I've met some really wonderful people as well doing this podcast. So just a massive thank you for listening. It is really, really appreciated, and anyone who's left a review or followed the podcast, really, really appreciate you guys as well. However, the summer is coming, so there will be a lot of content coming your way. I have the 2024-25 season review mini-series coming out, so that's exciting. That's going to be 5 episodes where we just look back, and then all the other episodes are going to be looking forward. Probably do a little bit of a tactical breakdown of what I think we can improve for next season, and obviously the obvious transfer stuff that is going to be coming thick and fast over the next few weeks. I've warned about this before, but I am going away for a few weeks, so there will be pre-recorded podcasts coming up. So keep a listen out for those, but don't be surprised if Arsenal a big bit of Arsenal news comes out and it's not covered on the exact podcast that releases just after it. There will be a little bit of pre-recording going on. Otherwise, guys, I hope you enjoyed the season as much as you can, given the context and everything that's gone on. I hope that you have enjoyed listening this year to the Arsenal Unfiltered podcast. If you have, remember, leave a review wherever you get your podcast from. It really, really does help. For the final time this season, I'm going to sign off from a match review podcast. Thank you for following. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you very, very soon.